business plan or anything of that nature?
I don't have it finalized. I like the idea of what, and I don't know if it was the alpha plan or what, but I mean, you were saying how not to focus on all of everything and just focus down tight on the couple, 3 areas that you want to get your business from. And so I'm revamping and it's probably like an old-fashioned one that I do because it's all focused on numbers more than it is how to, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
It's one of those fluffy ones that, so I'm pulling out all the I wish stuff and just going with the basics and not all the level of detail that I need to, from the accountant side of me. But yes, I am working on it. So
what Mark Zachary, and I know he's on the call now too, what Mark Zachary did was from our last meeting last Wednesday, he actually took the information and went back and looked at all of his conversion ratios, his percentages. And he had put that he wasn't happy with it, but I thought it was pretty normal for the marketplace. The point of a business plan is to design a method to help you improve over what you did last year. To the extent of if you wanted to double and triple and quadruple your business, as some people have said they wanted to do, if you don't know where you're at, you have no idea on how to go beyond where you are. Meaning to say that it is impossible to know what your closing ratios are. It's impossible to know how many leads you've generated. It's impossible to know who sent you those leads unless you're willing to go back and track it, but more importantly, start tracking it in the first place.
right.
So one of the things that I learned recently when I was talking to and Dave Flashner, who's on this call but not today, what he exposed to me was something that I had totally forgotten. So we spent a good part of the meeting that we had earlier this week. We probably spent 45 minutes going through his, I think he had 13 bullet points of things that he wanted to implement into his business. And when we finally got through all 13 and we organized them and put them in Q1 and Q2 and Q3, and we got rid of some and adjusted a couple of the others, but we ended up with a very, very, very powerful statement. And he's like, Doug, I had 241 leads that came in. I closed 67 units. That was a closing percentage, a closing ratio of about 27%. His goal for 2016 was to close 80 units, which is roughly about one more a month.
Right.
And so instead of looking at his business and going, what can we do differently? What other means can we use to cultivate business? He and I both didn't even think about, well, if you're only a closing percentage of 27%, if you bump that up about 5 to 6%, you could accomplish your 80 unit goal without changing any of the marketing campaigns and business models that you have.
Right.
All that means is that you'd have to focus more on your ability to convert those leads, which means which ones were rate shoppers, which ones weren't qualified, which ones were just, you know, they never really were a lead in the first place. And if you finally narrowed it down, I'm sure there's a pool of people that if you were more present and more engaged at the time of the call, you probably would have converted at least 12 more deals out of 241.
I agree. And that was one of my questions that I had for today was, should I even track the ones that are no leads or bad credit leads or anything like that? Because I can't control who picks up the phone and calls me. I mean, you know, but I put everybody on my list. So should I just be focusing, just putting people on the list that are going, that have the ability to go somewhere?
No, I think, in my honest opinion, and please Mark or Scott chime in if you think differently, I think you absolutely need to track every single person that gives you a name and a phone number. And this is why. I believe that you have to know where your business comes from to know where you need to put your efforts. If you have one client, let's say a realtor, who sends you nothing but dead deals, well, you know that you can pretty much check that person off your list of somebody that you want to do business with because they're not capable of providing you good leads. Had you not tracked that, you wouldn't know which people are your real advocates and which ones are your mimes. I call them mimes because they really don't provide any value. They have an entertainment value, but they don't really provide a financial value.
Okay. Yep. I know what you mean. Okay, good.
So I think the whole point of tracking your leads is everybody. I mean, I'm to the point where you would track. I would literally make it a game every week of, if I talk to somebody in line at Kroger's and I was talking to them about what I did, and she talked to me about what rates were, I simply say, hey, do me a favor, just write me down your name and phone number and your email address. I'm not going to solicit you, but I would love to put you down on my mailer, and maybe at some point I might be able to help you with something. And that was a game for me, because that was one more person that I had a chance to talk about what I did and frame how I did it based on my relationships. And it put another person into my database. It put another person in my mailing campaign, but it added another person to my, my ability to go and create leads. I put that as a, I circled another like business relationships. But the whole point was I could track that and say I spent, like, I could look at how many people I proactively went out there and sought, and was able to look at my business model. So I knew which pillars of my business were yielding the greatest, return on my investment. Like Mark's personal friends and I think it's personal friends and past clients. Mark, didn't you have like a 40 or 50% conversion ratio?
40 past clients, 43, 40 on family friends.
Okay.
Nice.
So if you were to look at where Mark should spend most of his time and energy, it would be to go and hammer his ability to tell his friends and his family what he does, and to really reach in and develop better relationships with those people that are referring him, and pick the A players of his past clients and really connect with them, because they'll seem to be the greatest people to do business with him. Like my business was 63%. 63% of my closings all came from my past client database. So I knew that my greatest strength wasn't to go out there and market to realtors. I know that that was a weakness of mine. So I didn't focus on it. I focused on my strengths. So I developed campaigns and ways in which I developed better relationships with my past clients. But that's what I'm getting at with regards to a business plan. We all have these great goals for 2016, but let's be honest. We're not going to put 13 items into play for 2016 if we're meeting our financial numbers.
Right, because you don't have.
And by financial numbers, by financial numbers, I mean survival numbers. We would love to do double the amount of business, but the reality is we're never going to work doubly as hard, because if we did, or if we really would work doubly as hard, we'd be doing it anyway.
Right.
The truth in the matter is that we're not going to work any harder than we did the previous year, because the previous year was exactly what this year is going to be. The only difference is how smart can we spend our time doing our business? How much more efficient can we be with our time? And adding 13, right.
I like that. Because you're only, having gone through what I did, I know that you're only physically able to do so much. I mean, as one person, and then you grow. But, I mean, you're coming up with that base of saying, here's the most that I can do, so I am going to maximize that amount of time and energy to create the maximum, the most that I can.
Well, and let's be honest with ourselves. If we're looking at ourselves in the mirror, I know that I would love to tell you that I wanted to do 20 million in volume in a year. The truth in the matter is that when I really put my head to the paper and really started writing down what I needed to do to accomplish that, it was never going to happen. I didn't care that much about working that hard. So I had to realize that what my fullest potential was to slowly develop processes and systems that made my job easier and more efficient to get more done with the amount of time that I realistically was going to put into it. That's why I'm not a fan of trying to fight through things that aren't making you happy. Meaning, if Thor's hammer, as an example, is one of those tools that works extremely well, but you don't enjoy doing it, you're never going to do it to its fullest capacity, because I don't believe we're ever going to work through that. So instead, we have to find ways like the reason why you and several of the other people are on this call is because we want to succeed, but we want to succeed doing it in a way that makes us feel validated and makes us feel like we have value to people. that's why my database and why talking about generating referrals from your current clients and from your past clients, I think works so well, because we're already building relationships with people. It's just a matter of how strong can we build it and how much can we leverage it, and can we keep that momentum going. And I promise you, over time, that momentum is so powerful that pretty soon you're going to be passing out more referrals to your realtors than they are to you.
Yeah,
Because
well,
it's all about being an advocate of your business.
and I do track all of that, and it's in MPC, and I've got an appointment later on this week where they're going to help me fine-tune my reports to drill down a little deeper so that I can see percentages and ratio, all that, short of me going through every single lead, because I have it written on paper, but then it all gets dumped into MPC where it can be tracked and seeing what happened and went where, all that kind of stuff. So that'll give me that breakdown of, and I think I did some manual calculations of percentages just from what I closed this year, and I thought I sent it over yesterday or last week, or no, maybe it was a week before. I don't know, but that kind of gave that, so I could see where my business was coming from and that kind of thing. So.
Hey, Mark, it was, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Margaret, real quick. Hey, Mark, you had said something in your email to me about that stuff. Says you weren't very happy with the numbers, but now you know it and you can't unknow it.
Yeah.
Was that helpful to really go back and look at those percentages? Did it give you any kind of an insight? Did it make you question anything about your business?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said a second ago kind of hit home. I don't like doing Thor's hammer at all. I mean, I do it. I don't do it on a consistent basis because I just don't like it. And these percentages just gave me an insight into where I have the greatest opportunity. And you know, who doesn't like to talk to family and friends? I mean, and that's where I'm landing in past clients. That's where I'm landing most of my business. And yet that's where or not most of my business, but percentage-wise, that's where I win the most. And yet I market and talk to them the least. And
that is amazing. What a powerful reflection.
Yeah, I mean, so it really just it gave me insight on, and I need to really make sure people know what I'm doing, and that you know, I depend on their referrals, because if they give them to me, I get them 40% of the time.
It's amazing, because now instead of chasing leads, you're taking more control over what your God-given abilities are. And that is, you have a great ability to cultivate strong and meaningful relationships with people when they put their trust in you.
Yeah.
But when you're out there trying to sell yourself to people who don't know you, like you, and trust you, you're only successful at it 14% of the time.
Yeah, that's right. And what's, you know, you look at that family and friend and past client percentage, I've made some positive notes down there. That percentage is actually going to go up, because there's still 4 people out there that are still looking out of those 10 that I got from family and friends. So, I mean, that number could legitimately go to 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so here's the cool part about it, is that as one of your business campaigns for 2016, Mark just really hit on a really key and very genuine and very organic idea for 2016, and that is, instead of trying to come up with a newfangled, sparkly tool that'll attract people and get more people in front of you, you might not need to attract more people. Maybe what you need to do is spend more time being more attractive to people. And by that I mean spending time building better relationships, getting people out there to really know who you are and what you do and why you do it. And by being more attractive to them, they inherently will start referring you more business, because you'll be more memorable to them. And I think if you consider that as being one of your campaigns for 2016, there's no reason why Mark couldn't get 10 to 12 more business transactions out of his personal friends and family. But I think, Mark, you gave me a story that said that your wife worked with somebody or knows somebody at work that just bought a house and your wife never told them to call you.
Yeah. Well, they're building a house, so I haven't lost it yet, but it's they're building a house, and that's right. That's she did not tell them, hey, call my husband. So she got a little spanking because of it.
But to the point of it, but what you said earlier really made sense. You have the highest percentage of closing ratio with them, and they know what you do the least.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I think if you simply altered that mindset and the numbers are really eye-opening to not only you, but I think to a lot of us. If we go back and really look at our business and look at it in the way that you did it, there's no way that we can't look at our business and go, wow, I know now what it is that I'm really good at and what I need to focus on. And so it allows you to get rid of all the other chum. Let's just put it out there. Let's get rid of all the other chum and focus on the stuff that really is meaningful to us. So if Thor's hammer is not going to work for you, don't do it. But Thor's hammer does work well for other people that find value and joy in doing it. And some people may not have a choice. They have to do Thor's hammer because they don't have a database or they don't have a network. Yep. And the reality for us is this. Tracking our leads and tracking our business at this level is how we're able to build our business for next year. Everything we've done since May, March, April, everything we've done, Mark, since we started tracking our business is centered around having these calls, because now 2016, you can go back and see what you did in 2015 and know really where you're going. Imagine if you had 10 years of data on this.
Yeah. Well, I won't ever do that manually again. I am introducing a turbocharged lead tracker for 2016.
Great.
And it will
Awesome.
follow that for me.
Great. Great.
In fact, I was just, while Doug was talking, I'm looking at the one I have and I'm going, okay, I'm going to see if I can add a few more columns and a few more things to be able to track this to where I can do it myself instead of having to dump it into Salesforce and then can't figure out how to get it back out. I know it's all in there, but it's hard to get it out.
Right. But I guess the point of this is really, I want to know what you guys are doing to plan for your 2016. I would love to see your business plans, but a business plan in my world, because I'm not the sharpest and the smartest person, I always wanted it to be really simple and easy, because I know that my time is so valuable, and I know that I'm not overly intense when it comes to implementing a bunch of new things. I always wanted to just simply augment what I was already doing by tweaking some of the things that I knew really worked for me, like adding a new script. I've talked to some of you before about the 5 times that I talked to a client through the process. That came from realizing what my strengths and weaknesses were. So when I say that I talk to a client when they call initially, you guys all know that I'm pretty good at articulating value over the phone. Then when I met with them face-to-face, that was my chance to build a better relationship with them. Then I didn't talk to them until after the appraisal came in. And then I talked to them upon the approval. And then I would talk to them upon the closing. Those are the 5 times that I talked to my clients. That was the only times that I talked to my clients. But yet 65% of my business came from my past clients. And so what that became a part of was why I track my business, and realizing that I had to figure out where my time was best suited. So for me, I developed that 5 touch point process based on all the years of data that I collected, realizing where my business was really coming from. And Mark, I would tell you, you could probably take a lot more out of this than maybe what you've gotten so far, which is what should you be doing on a daily basis to make sure that your family and friends and past clients provide you the most at-bats as you possibly can get. And realizing that your realtor campaign is not yielding you half of that.
Right.
But you're probably talking to more people than your friends and your family. So you're spending more time chasing, converting 14% of them, where talking to fewer people and converting better than better than double than what your realtor business was giving you. Not to say that realtors shouldn't be there, but as it relates to the pillars of your business, your highest and best use of your time should be figuring out how to make sure that you're getting as many at-bats with your past clients and your family and friends as possible. Kind of like Cookies with Santa, I think you just did this past weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scott, you're being awfully quiet.
Oh, I'm listening to this, and it's funny. I mean, I'm actually thinking how mine's the opposite as far as, Mark was showing that how much business he's got and focused on that. I'm realizing how much I lost based on never talking to, 82% of mine were realtors, which I actually only had 4 deals from friends and family. So either I'm, have no friends and family, or I missed the boat there.
Yep.
No,
Well,
seriously.
Scott,
I mean,
I know you well enough that I know you've got more than 4 loans in you from friends and family.
No, I know. That just shows you that how I missed that entire boat,
Right.
by never doing a thorough job and refocusing, which I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. And it's kind of amazing how, because I've been calling every previous customer, which I don't have the database of, but it's amazing how cool it is to connect with these people again. It was fun. It was really, really good. I did it, with the end of the year trying to, reconnect. And it's been pretty cool. It's amazing the response. And, some of the people were like, oh, yeah, give someone your name. But, they're probably just pretending. But I think next time they will. I think they'll be talking more and more. So, it was a little awkward to reconnect for a second, but it wasn't.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean,
right.
And I'm just realizing how much business, if I did 4, what's the odds of, 10, 12? It's a no-brainer.
Well, think about that.
Especially
if you added
so much fun.
If you added 1 more loan to your pipeline every single month and take your average loan sizes, how much money does that equate to that you could get from servicing the people that already know you, like you, and trust you, and helping out people that you want to help because they already know you? Think of the value that you get beyond just the paycheck. Think about the trust factor and the respect and the adoration and the accolades that they will tell to other people about you because you are so influential in their life. You're more than just a lender. You're a friend. You're an advocate of their life. And, some people always talk about how, they would never do business with family. I wouldn't do business with my mom and my dad, and I wouldn't do business with my sister or brother, only because I know how they are, and I wouldn't ever feel comfortable working with them because of their nature and the way that they are as people when it comes to business. But my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, my nieces, I've done all of their loans, all of them.
Yep.
But I would never do my brothers and my sisters and my parents. It was just a personal decision for me, but that didn't stop me from doing loans for the rest of my family. And the amazing part, what's that?
Referrals from them, from the direct family?
I got referrals from my sister. I've gotten referrals from my brother, yes.
Okay.
But for me, it was always, I never wanted family feel like I knew more about them than they knew about me, like my brother and sister and my parents. So I never crossed that bridge. Maybe it was just the intimacy thing that my immediate family had. But when it came to my uncles and my aunts and my cousins and my nieces, it was fair game. And I've gotten more business from my extended family than I've gotten from any one referral source in my life. My cousin Danielle works for a engineering firm. She's referred me 25 of her colleagues over her 3 different corporate career, over her 3 different employers.
Nice.
So seeing her at the holidays, which I'll see her this Saturday, it's a blast because we can reminisce and talk about all the people that we know. But I will tell you that, when that started to happen, it's when she asked me to ride in this MS bike ride. I did a 175 mile bike ride for the MS Foundation. I did it with her and her office team. From that moment on is when I became somebody who she gladly referred to her friends and her colleagues. It was kind of amazing. I don't know if that was the direct result of it, but it made me connect with her at a level that maybe we had never connected before at. to the point of my business plan for 2016, if my goal was to increase my family and friends and my past clients, it would be engaging in more activities that would allow me to be more more memorable, more attractive, doing more cookies with Santa, doing more events around things with the people that I consider to be advocates of my business. I would be looking at my family and friends and seeing who has the greatest influence in their social network, and I would be finding ways to become incorporated with them. Not because it's all about business, because that's who we are. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Yep.
So when you think about writing your business plan for 2016, I don't think your business plan should have anything more than 3 or 4 bullet points as it relates to how to improve 3 or 4 of your pillars in your business. We already know how to close loans. Half the time, I don't think it's about getting in front of more people. Scott, you might need to get in front of more people because I don't know how many at-bats you got this year, but I would venture to guess that if you had more at-bats, you'd have a greater volume. Dave Flashner, I know he's not on the call, Dave Flashner had 241 at-bats. He doesn't need to talk to more than 241 people in a year. He doesn't. He just needs to convert 5 to 10% more of those people into loans. So he doesn't have to worry about lead generation anymore. He should worry more about how he converts his business. And then talking to who was referring him those 241 deals to make sure that they're priming the pump effectively.
Yep.
So I know that each of us have a financial goal for 2016. Margo, I know yours. Scott, I know yours. Yeah, Mark, you sent me yours, right, buddy?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I know you did. I'm just curious to know how I can play a larger role with you, Mark, and making sure that I hold you accountable to that. I don't want to be an accountability partner, but I want to know that if there are times that you're waning or falling a little bit off track or being distracted by something, I want to be able to pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, brother, you know what? I know what your goals are for 2016, and I committed to you to making sure that I would hold you accountable to it. Is this still something that you're after? But I have to know what you guys are trying to accomplish, not in the volume goals and unit goals, but what are you doing with your businesses to make it so that you're working more effectively and more efficiently? So Mark has mapped out, I think, an extremely vulnerable document in what's up on the screen. And so I'm going to be looking at Mark's business and saying, all right, what are you doing this week? What are you doing next week? What are your plans for Q1? What are you going to implement that's going to allow you to make sure you capitalize on more of those family and friends and your past clients? Which if I was Mark, I'd be like, man, if I can get 10 leads a month in from my family and friends, whew, that's 4 to 5 loans a month guaranteed right there. That's one pillar of my business.
Yeah.
Which is 60% of your paycheck. Actually, between family and friends, if you were consistent at it, that's 80% of your paycheck right there. 80%, Mark.
Yeah, it's super eye-opening, that's for sure. I mean, I grew up in Austin. I know hundreds of people in Austin, and it's just my strategy right now is how do I get in touch and back in touch with all these people that I know in Austin, and I've mapped out the letter from the heart and the evidence of success, for next year, and I just have to come up with a strategy on how often I'm going to contact these people verbally, and then how often on the letters. And it looks like from our conversation last week, 6 letters from the heart, 6 evidence of success or tip type things, and then maybe a phone call once a quarter, and that ought to do it, really. I think that's enough touches.
I think that's enough touches, but I think there could be one additional step that you could add, and that is you need to find a place where you can gain as much exposure about who you are as a person to as many people as possible. So if you're making all these reconnections, part of your business plan should be to become engaged in something that's bigger than you. that allows you to gain exposure to groups of people that will see you for who you really are as a human being and as a man and as a husband and as a father, because that's what's going to help differentiate you from everybody else. Because at that point, you've already proved on this document that people don't necessarily think that you're a commodity. People who already know you and like you want to do business with you regardless of what your rates and fees are. So I think if you could spend more time developing strategies around maybe once or twice a month, becoming engaged in organizations that expose you to groups of people that get to know you. Now, this isn't going to be an instant fix, but I'm telling you right now, buddy, getting engaged in those kind of events, whether it be a chamber, whether it be a charity, whether it be something where you donate your time, I don't know what it is, but I would imagine that as long as you're out there projecting who you are as a human being, there's going to be a high level of success in time. If people know who you are and you make deposits in their life, they're going to want to repay you in kind. And the best way to repay them is by telling them what you do and how they can thank you. It's no different than how we talk to our clients.
Yep, that's right.
Imagine if you did Santa, cookies with Santa once a month for an entire year. Do you think you wouldn't get business out of it?
That was a huge hit Saturday.
I saw it on Facebook.
Nice.
It looked like a huge
That
hit.
was, Mark, that was very cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, I had more positive feedback from that, and just, you know, people coming over. A couple of the realtors came, and, you know, before I know it, my wife was friends with them on Facebook, and now the realtors called me more this week than she has ever. And the people that I'm doing loans for, they came and they friended my wife on Facebook. It was like, God, I mean, it really could. Doing a little event like that, you know, for your past clients once a quarter or however you do it, really, it just solidifies those relationships.
Imagine if you could come up with something like that once a month, how much more business you'd get from people like that.
Yeah.
So my challenge to you, Mark, is, and I don't know how much cookies with Santa cost, but I can't imagine it was too terribly expensive. But I have to imagine that there are ways that you can create that kind of energy with events. And I'm not saying you have to be the one that puts it together. Maybe you just have to be a facilitator. Maybe you just have to be maybe augment it with somebody else. I don't know. But I can tell you that based on who you are, that's your highest and best use of your time.
Yeah.
You already know enough people. It's just that not enough people know who you are.
Yep, that's right. It's $400.
Remember how we talked about what would you do with $500 in order to gain business? Well, I would say 400 if it goes right to cookies and Santa.
You know what I'm going to do next time, though? All these insurance guys that I refer out to, guess who's going to pay for that next time?
Yeah.
Bingo.
Hey, you know what?
Bingo.
I refer you a lot of business, and I need a sponsor or an underwriter for this this event. Costs $400. Are you in or not? And,
Yep.
we'll be paying for it next time because it was such a big hit.
You could do something for the 4th of July. You can do something for Halloween. You can do something for Thanksgiving. Literally, Mark, you've got 6 months out of the year that have something monumental in it anyway. You can do something for Valentine's Day. You can do something for, let's be honest. You can come up with projects and events that you can put on that are special to the people. And look at the feedback you got just for this. God, I think if I was going to be crafting a business plan for you, my friend, it would be, what do I do every single week that gets me more exposure to getting people to remember who I am and what it is that I do?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mark, this is Margot. Can I call you after this and ask you what you did on that Cookies for Santa?
Yeah, absolutely. I can discuss it right here if everybody wants to hear it. But
yeah,
you can call.
This call is being recorded, so I absolutely would love to hear it because I think I'd love to keep it as a for future reference.
Okay.
So please, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, so back in August, because you have to reserve these guys pretty well in advance because they do fill up, and this Santa was just an awesome person to come over. But I talked to him back back in August, and I reserved my date, and you know, I had to pay a $100 deposit at the time, and then $300 when he got there on Saturday. So a total of $400 for him, and you know, every city has these Santas that you can go rent like that, so pretty easy to find. I went to Sam's or Costco and bought a bunch of the cookie dough that you know, you can buy in the box and all that stuff. And me and my wife and kids, we baked cookies Friday night for a few hours. Had all the cookies set and ready to go. I think the box of cookies made something like 80 cookies, and our box of dough made 80 cookies, and that was about $8 for the cookies, and I bought 3 boxes. And then at H-E-B, which is a grocery store here, they had a sale on these little cups that were hard plastic cups, and they had like Frosty the Snowman pictures on them, or Santa Claus, or just different Christmas characters on the cup themselves. We bought those and stuffed that with candy and a Rice Krispie treat and wrapped it in cellophane and you know, zip tied it, or not zip tied it, but whatever, we tied it to the top with a little bow. All of that probably cost an additional, I'd say, I don't have the exact amount, less than $50 to buy the cups, candy, everything that we you know, put together, and then that was given as a gift from Santa to the kids that showed up. So not only did they get to take pictures with Santa, they got a gift from Santa, and that the kids were just flabbergasted. I saw some parents crying. It was just like, this is so awesome. And, one of the realtors actually purchased a puppy for their kids, because their kids were wanting that for Christmas. Well, I arranged it beforehand where we put the dog or the puppy in Santa's bag, and so when the kids got up and asked Santa told them they wanted a puppy, he just reached back and grabbed the bag and gave them a puppy out of the bag. And so, I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, the instead of handshakes like when everybody got there were hugs when we left. And like I said, they were hugging my wife, they were hugging my kids, and just saying, "Oh, this was the greatest event ever. We can't wait to do it again."
Where did you have it at, Mark?
I had it at my house, which was, I think, another big thing, to invite people into your home. They get to see the pictures of your kids. They get to see what you're all about at your house. And it, but yeah, it was at my house, and it lasted for 2 hours. It was from 1 to 3, and yeah, it was just a home run.
There's an event that we go to annually here in Detroit, and it's called the Holiday Nights, and it's done by the Henry Ford Museum, and it's basically a turn-of-the-century setting where everybody dresses in the turn of the century, and it's very just really cool. Well, they have Santa, and this is an idea that I was thinking about as you were talking. They have Santa sitting up on this plantation house at the very top on this balcony. And what they do is they have reindeer out in front, and the reindeer are where all the kids can play. And then they have these women who are dressed in the clothing of the time, walking around, and so they got these big hats on and so forth. And they walk up to the parents and they ask the parents the kids' names. Well, when they do that, they have a walkie-talkie or an ear system or a communication system that goes up to Santa. So when Santa's up there, he already knows who the kids' names are as they're down there. And he'll yell out to their names and say, "Hey, Joey, hey, Maddie, happy holidays, I can't wait to see you soon." And the kids literally lose their mind, not knowing that Santa has already, you know, that the parents have already told, you know, the lady who the kids are. But it's such a cool thing. If that would be something you can incorporate into it next year, it would just add even a higher level of amazement that brings the parents this, man, look at what this guy does for Santa. I mean, that's a memorable experience. Not that yours isn't, but that would help you. Maybe that would improve on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing he also did at the very end is he pulled out a book and he read him the Christmas story.
Oh,
or a
gosh.
Christmas story as all the kids were sitting around. He was reading them the book, so it was really cool.
Mark, that was such a huge success.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So how do you capitalize on it?
You know, the handwritten thank you notes for coming out are going out as we speak. You know, follow-up calls, just thanking them personally for coming. That's one thing I'm going to be doing this week. You know, all of those guys, I had them fill out a little sheet that just gave me all their updated information with their names, first name, last name, wife's name, all of their birth dates, all their kids' names with birth dates. They had to fill all of that out so they could register for a $150 flat screen TV that I'm giving away. So I thought all of that data is well worth the $150 flat screen. It's 32-inch flat screen. It's not
Absolutely.
It's not some big wall mount thing, but you know, it's 32-inch, and I thought that was well worth the data that I got.
Congratulations, Mark. That's a huge success. How many of you, well, Margo and Scott, don't you think that would be one of your augments to your business plan for 2016? Couldn't that be one thing you could add to your business plan that could yield you more business for next year? I'm sorry, for 2017?
Oh, yeah. I used to have
Yeah.
out at the farm in the fall the pumpkin painting, where we'd hitch
Yep.
up the draft horses and we'd give people rides out in the woods in a wagon, and kids would paint pumpkins, and we'd have hot dogs and cider and all that kind of thing, and people would come out, and it was mainly clients and a couple realtors, but mainly clients bringing their children to, you know, play in the farm life for an afternoon. So that was always a big hit. It just was so much work. So I always wanted. Pardon?
But if it yielded you business and it was something that you tracked and were able to justify, think about the work that you put in for the rest of the year doing things that didn't yield you any returns.
Yeah, I know. That's.
We weren't tracking the business.
Yep. Yeah, and I haven't done that in probably 8 years, 9 years.
Oh.
Well, part of it is the liability with the livestock and stuff like that. But I mean, the whole concept of doing something like that is good. I mean, I'm all for getting that back into my plan.
Right. I love it. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Is there anything else anybody wants to talk about before we take a break? I think, does anybody else have anything else?
I'm all set.
Nope, I'm good.
Yep, fine.
Mark, those pictures are incredible on your Facebook, just for the record. They are. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of them. From seeing, I mean, the clients, but also your family. They must have had a great experience with it too, with the cookies and putting all the stuff together. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I tell you, it was a home run.
No.
Awesome.
Oh, very cool.
So let's take next week off because it's just before Christmas. And does anybody else have a problem taking the week between New Year's and Christmas off? So we wouldn't start back up again until January.
No, not as long
fine
as
with
we
me.
can call you if you've got any questions.
My phone is 100% available to you without any question. You guys don't ever need that permission, but I think the formal call that we'll do probably the first week in January.
Sounds
Good with
great.
me.
Thank you.
Perfect.
All right, guys, have a blessed Christmas. Have a great and safe holiday season. Again, if you need anything, please call me, but I'm honored and privileged to be a part of your business and to consider you guys partners and friends. So thanks again for taking the time out of your day to spend it with me.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
All right, guys, have a good afternoon.
Bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.